Only one left. Huh. Oh! 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 Oh, Floowandereez, you card. How could I ever express my feelings for you? I don't like it. Hey, I'm not alone on this one. I mean, they don't even have like a Rule 30.
Oh, God. I wish I was wrong about that.
Yeah, this deck causes a lot of rage, and if you don't know that, you either haven't played the game, I'm happy and well adjusted. You've been living under a rock, or you're unfortunate enough to get one of those grimace shakes and think, oh, this is pretty good, but it could be bad. Now, to those unfamiliar with the story, this actually might come as a shocker, especially when you consider just how many good things were going for the deck. First things first, it's cheap. Even from the start, you can get most of the coin in your hand for a couple of coins, and if that didn't work, you just put those coins in a sock and you beat your victim until they gave the cards to you. Actually, now that I think of it, that's a pretty good description of how the deck plays. Like any budget competitive deck though, there were exceptions to this, specifically the big birds like M-Pen, Apex Avian, and Rise of the Storm Monarch. But even these cards wouldn't hold out for long, as M-Pen dropped below 20 within the first month or two, and Apex and Monarch each got reprinted in the Hidden Arsenal and Ghost from the Past 2 sets respectively. Add to that the multiple reprints of Extrav and a complete lack of need for your extra deck, and this deck just became an easy pick for budget players who still wanted to do well at tournaments. Don't believe me? Just bring 15 seeds American cheese slices to your next tournament. They won't even know the difference. The other thing is it's really unique playstyle. While most decks at the time focused on special summoning a bajillion monsters in one turn, Flu decided to flip the script and instead focus on normal summoning a bajillion monsters during your turn. But it also gets to do it on your opponent's turn? So, cool. Now, you might think this just sounds like special summoning with extra steps and more restrictions, like being in an attack position. But with every deck in the early 2022 format turning into Cyclock Turbo, nothing felt better than staring down an extra deck log and flipping them the bird, or beating them with a sock full of quarters. Add this all together, you got a deck that's cheap, competitive, and really unique. So why the hate? Remember I said every deck in 2022 is doing Cyclock Turbo? Flu did the same thing, but worse. Or better? I don't know, it depends on if you're on the side of Flu or not. While every other deck of the format was trying to stop you from special summoning from the extra deck, Flu decided to be the better man and stop you from special summoning at all. Start by spamming out a barrier statue of the Stormwinds to lock both players into only special summoning wind monsters. Pair that with an M-Pen to stop your opponent from activating the effects of special summon monsters in attack position. Add to that a trap card that said do your entire turn again, but this time on your opponent's turn, and this time you get to bounce their one normal summon monster. Plus in the graveyard you get a Book of Eclipse their entire field. Then you get a bottle of white, you got a bottle of red, or perhaps you even get a bottle of arsenic instead. I mean, during this time, there were no other competitive decks that were based on wind monsters, with the exception of, like, maybe Sky Striker going into Hayate. That was pretty much it. The deck did suffer from the fact that they had to put all their monsters in attack position, because normal summoning. So, like, if you had Lightning Storm, you can get rid of them. But even if you dealt with those, they just have the trap card to do it all over again. And if they have the field spell and you normal summon, well, they gotta do it again. But hey, you know, things could be worse. I mean, I'm prone to complaining. I'll be the first to admit that. I mean, it's not like they have something that banishes everything in the graveyard. You see, if Shifter sees play in one deck consistently, it's usually not just because it beats all the other decks, it's because that deck abuses it. Like, if you look at other formats, there are plenty of times when, like, Shifter would have been the best hand trap, but still nobody would play it because it would hurt them just as bad. Flu doesn't care about that. Flu abused Shifter probably more than any other deck. They didn't just want their cards banished, they needed them banished. Well, banished, all the monsters gained this effect that let you add them back to hand if you normal summon, which basically meant you can chain block to protect from things like Ash Blossom or Omni negates like Baron de Fleur. On top of that, they could just loop Shifter with Ryza, letting them do it over and over and over again. Basically, every game with them devolved into Hope They Brick, where you draw the out. Wait a second. Now, to be fair, Yu-Gi-Oh! Control decks definitely got a lot more flack than they do in like other games like Magic or Vanguard? Pokemon? I'm really showing my colors here. Thing with Flu, which made it, I think, a lot worse for a lot of other Yu-Gi-Oh! Players, is that it was so streamlined. Every single board ended on the same thing. Always saw the trap, you always saw the M-Pen, and you always saw the barrier statue. And even if you don't see that on their end board during their turn, they very easily just set it up on your turn. So it's not like you get to do anything. And when you're going to locals to play a game and interact with other people and have some healthy competition, it kind of sucks when you're not really able to do that, especially when a lot of the cards used to beat decks like that, or at the time to beat, you know, that deck, were very expensive. So a lot of people were just kind of shoved out of the game. Luckily, the deck would get hit eventually, with Statue getting banned, which definitely makes the deck more tolerable, but by that point, the damage is already done. Flu should have been this champion of the people. It should have been this rogue competitive deck that let people play the game despite not, you know, having a lot of skill, you know, maybe being new to it, or just like, doing something that isn't combo summon a bajillion times. The thing is, it just wasn't, you know. It was hated by people who played competitively, and it was especially hated by people who wanted to play casually, which was definitely like me at the time. I was just getting into the game, and seeing how hard it fell off after the barrier statue hit, it led a lot of people to think, yeah, we were right. It was not fun to play against, and it's not good without that thing that makes it unfun to play against. That being said, it started seeing play again, and honestly, it's not that bad. And I don't mean like, oh, it's not good, you know. It's putting up results. It's topping regionals. The NAWCQ just happened. It did pretty well there. By that, I mean that it's not unfun to play against. And I think a large part of that is because it lost that one thing that made it incredibly unfair. You know, the barrier statue. Now, another part of that could also just be the fact that Shifter is running around in another awful deck that abuses it. Who knows? Maybe it's just because there's this other big, bad, evil deck out there who's got Shifter running around, so now more people are prepared for it. Maybe I'm just alone on this, you know? But I feel like most of the hate for Floowandereez comes from those days when barrier statue was a thing, and people didn't have as many ways of getting forms of removal to take it out. That being said, it's still got a long road to go. I mean, that hatred is deeply cemented in there. I don't see that going away anytime soon. Who knows? Maybe Flu will even become the next Dragon Ruler format, with people going back to play Mirror. I can't finish. I can't finish.
Hey, come on, you don't have.
I have a grenade in my hand. I would
there.
rather
Calm down.
take this out than say.
Oh, Floowandereez, I'm so sorry. I've been acting like a tomfool. Could you ever find it in your heart to forgive me? Oh, so that's the way it's gonna be.
Hello, 911? Yeah, there's a live grenade in my hand. No, I can wait.